You know what can happen if you get hacked, right? It's like world ending. And if you're like most people, you're making it really easy for the average high school student to steal your passwords and rip your world apart. They can do it for free. And in a matter of minutes, it's just lights out. Are you ready to stop that from happening? Good. Let's go. Guys, by the time you're hacked, it's too late. They own you. They have your secrets. They're not giving them back. They're not going away. And you're probably going to lose a lot of valuable data, photos, money, and maybe a reputation in the process. And that's if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, they're going to get some terrible leverage over you, like some type of a secret or blackmail, and they're going to force you to compromise your friends, a boss, your job, maybe even family members. I have literally seen all of that. Even in the best case scenario, it's probably going to be really annoying for you and definitely time consuming to clean up. True story. 10 years ago, my Uber account got hacked, and Uber still will not let me have an Uber account, not with my credentials. They just blacklisted all of my credentials. That was their solution. Who the heck needs that? And yet the average person watching this already has a ton of data exposed and is just basically waiting to get the bad news that the wrong person found it and is using it against them. Do you want to know if that's you? Like already you? Sometimes I can show you. When you're done here, I want you to watch the You've Been Hacked video that we've got up there. And trust me, chances are you've already got some data out there that people are going to use against you someday. And I'll help you find it. Friends, contrary to popular belief, hackers don't need access to your iPhone or computer in order to make your life miserable. They just need access to a data set that's already been hacked, leaked, breached, or scraped from any of the services that you've ever entered your email and password into. And those data sets are everywhere today. If they want to find you, they can. But thankfully, I'm here to protect you. And we're gonna start with the absolute basics. We're gonna do something that's free. It won't take you more than a few minutes, and it's gonna make your life a lot easier going forward. But even though this is basic and quick, and in most cases free, it's probably the most powerful thing that you can do today to protect your security, and most people aren't doing it. In fact, if everybody did this, it would probably eliminate 70 to 80% of the heartache that gets brought to my attention. So if you do this, it will make you way awesomer than most people, and infinitely better off than this guy. And as an added bonus, once you get this done, I'm gonna give you an easy pathway forward that you can use to gradually lock down your online footprint and make yourself really well protected in this really dangerous environment that we're all trying to exist in. Today, we're gonna start with a password manager. I know, sexy, right? And here's my disclaimer. Guys, there are plenty of good, intuitive, secure password managers out there that are cheap or free. Your phone definitely came with one, so did your computer, and I want you to feel free to use any of them. I think having considered all the options today, Bitwarden would be my number 2 pick overall. It's polished, it's easy to use, looks good, plays well with all devices, and it's really secure. They also have a free version that's kind of basic, but it's there for you. My point is that there are plenty of good ones out there. Most of them are actually way better than the one that came on your phone or your computer, and they're way more secure than storing your passwords in your internet browser. But you be you. At the elementary level, you choose what's best for you. I'd be happy if you used any of these things, as long as you do it for all of your accounts. Because even if all you do is use the methods described in this video with the basic default password manager that came on your phone or your computer, guys, you're still better off than most people. Again, a majority of the people who come to me are still using old and easy to guess passwords on multiple accounts. And they're not even using a password manager for the accounts that they use every day, because they're using the same password on all those accounts or a variation of the same password. Dude, that's a straight up disaster. So listen, I am gonna recommend a specific password manager in a second, but the default password managers that came with your device, it's probably still the easiest to use and it's free, you've already got it. So if that convenience makes it more likely that you will use that app with all of your accounts all of the time, and you will swear to me right now that you will create and keep strong and unique passwords for every account that you have, just do that. Not everybody has the same threat model. And I've learned that when it comes to cybersecurity, sometimes the most basic, like rudimentary, easily accessible password manager is gonna protect you better than maybe even the most high stakes, super hardened password manager with all the cool technology incorporated into it that I need in my life, because that simple password manager is something that you're going to use on a daily basis. And the one that I might find comfortable for me is too complicated or cumbersome or maybe costly for you to use on a daily basis. Does that make sense? If you are a quick and easy kind of a person, and you're really confident that no wise guy is going to try to actually zero in and hack you in particular, you use that default password manager. Just clean it up so that every account you have is updated. Don't use the same password or the same password with a $sign attached to the end of it. Yeah, you know who you are. Make sure that you enable 2FA on all of your important accounts. And listen, if that's you, you can just stop this video right now. I mean, I am going to miss you, but you can just watch one of my other videos because you're basically done here. Just go. That said, you need to know that your Apple or Google password manager, it does come with some pretty big letdowns. And if forward-thinking security is where you're heading, or if there's a chance that someone might target you or try to get to your boss through you, or your school or family through you, it's just time to step away from that built-in stuff. Now again, people always hate on recommendations. So before I give you mine here, full disclosure, this is what I would set you up with today if you asked me for help locking your stuff down. And I have set many people up on this to lock their stuff down, but I'm not an affiliate and I have no stake in this whatsoever other than I really do want you to be successful and happy. So that said, I am sure that whatever solution you pick is going to work great for you, okay? And I'm not here to argue with you on it. If you decide to select your own app, or maybe an app that somebody else has recommended, dude, we're good, all right? Just make sure of 3 things. Number 1, make sure that it transmits and stores all of your account data with full encryption. Number 2, make sure that it works on all major devices and all major browsers, at least the ones that you're going to be using. And number 3, this is important, make sure that that app allows you to export your passwords in CSV format whenever you want, so you can easily transfer your stuff to another app in the future, a better app, like the one that I'm going to recommend. For me, it's pretty important that my password manager have a built-in TOTP or 2FA authenticator, and that it be capable of launching proxy emails with each new account creation, all right? But those are kind of fancy extras that I personally want you to have. And even if you can't see yourself using them yet, I want them to be available to you when the day comes that you need them. Now, those things might not be important for everyone, but they should be. Be forewarned. The password manager that I recommend, it has a user interface that, I don't know, maybe it's not as polished or finely tuned as the built-in password manager, or something a little bit more mainstream that's been around longer, under development longer, like Bitwarden or LastPass. But the important features are definitely here, and that happens to mean more to me personally than maybe a perfectly smooth and seamless UI. Today, I recommend Proton Pass. Proton is one of the most respected companies in this realm, and their other products, guys, they just crush it. And I personally don't mind, in my world, if I have to cut and paste my passwords between apps every once in a while, like in a worst case scenario, because it's not behaving properly on Safari. If I have to do that in order to get better security, like, I'm good. Now, keep in mind that my threat model is probably higher than yours, and I'm actually using hard tokens for most of my accounts today. So I don't mind being inconvenienced in exchange for better security. Once again, you be you. But Proton Pass can do some pretty game-changing things that no other password manager can do right now. For one, it can incorporate proxy emails with each new account creation, and even the free version does this. That's a pretty big level up in terms of security, and it's really hard to put a value on that. Actually, there is a value on that. If you want more than 10 proxy emails, you got to pay $3 a month. In my opinion, Proton encrypts your data better. They store it safer. They also have better safeguards to prevent both hacking attempts and malware intrusions. Proton is also open source, which is a biggie, and their company provides everything that you need to easily upgrade your digital security in ways that I recommend in my other videos. It's all in one place. So when you decide to get serious, you can just click a button and add a VPN. Add an encrypted email service, a proxy email service, encrypted calendar, E2E cloud storage, and more. Now, you really do need all these things today, even if you don't know it yet. And Proton makes it super easy to just add them when you're ready. You can even bundle all of them to save money. And you can include your family members on your plan so everyone is protected and familiar with the same stuff. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with those other things in this video. just know that once your passwords are with Proton Pass, it's super easy to add these other Proton products. And you should. I'm totally sounding like a commercial. Again, you decide what's best for you. But here's some good news. We're going to start with a free version of Proton Pass, and everything that we do here can easily be brought over to most other password managers. So you lose nothing if you decide to switch to a different app down the road. This entire process is going to put you in a much more secure place, and you can take all this with you wherever you go from here. If you're already using something like iCloud Keychain on your iPhone, maybe Google Password Manager on your Droid, or a generic browser extension of some kind, we really should get you off of that as soon as possible. As a rule of thumb, you never want to be stuck within the ecosystem of a major service provider like Apple or Google for your passwords, email, calendars, or cloud storage.
They do things to you.
There are definitely some inherent security and privacy problems there, and those vendors tend to hold your data hostage in order to keep you chained to their products. What's more, you definitely don't want your internet browser storing your passwords for you, and they'll all try to do that. Most of you are probably letting your browser do that. And I don't know, aside from maybe storing your passwords actually in your photos on your phone, I've seen that. Your browser is probably the least secure place to keep them. It's also the first place that's going to be attacked by hackers and malware if it gets on your phone. Now, if you're just like a lone wolf, like you're a kid, you're not bringing your family on board with you here, and you've probably only got like 10 passwords in your entire life, like total. You can just go download the Proton Pass app from the App Store, create your account, and then just manually add your 10 passwords to that app. Dude, you're done. Just get out of here because you're smart. You're going to figure that out on your own. And I've got a shorter video on how to make the most of Proton Pass. Your time is probably better off spent there. So just go. But if you're an adult, or if you have more than, say, 10 passwords, you're in a different category. And I'm going to need to hold your hand for a minute here. I'm actually going to walk you through this process. And I want you to do this from the personal computer that you use most, not the phone or tablet. Yes, I'm serious. This isn't my first rodeo, trust me. If you don't have a personal computer, that's fine. Just find a trusted computer with a friend or family member that you can safely access the internet on. We're going to use that computer to not only create your Proton account, but we're also going to import all of your old existing passwords to it. And trust me, you have more than you think. You're a mess. But we're going to fix it, and it's going to be a lot easier to do that on a computer. Anyway, once we create your account, we're going to sync everything up so it seamlessly transfers to all of your other devices. So we really only want to do this once, and we're going to do that on your laptop or your computer. If you think this video is getting kind of long, just hang in there because I'm about to start dancing.
Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh.
Before we begin this quick and easy process, I highly recommend that you create a folder on your desktop where you can temporarily store some notes, recovery keys, and password files. Now, we're going to burn that folder when we're done, but I still want you to know that you should not create this folder unless you trust the security of the computer that you're using. You don't want other people to access what we're about to put in there. God, that sounds creepy. Also, once you create that temporary folder on that safe computer, I want you to know that I've made some helper tools available for you that you may want to download and drop into that folder right now. I know, I love you too. You might not need them because this is pretty easy, but in case you get interrupted in the process, or if you happen to be over the age of 30, just download the files, all right? They eliminate some confusion. To get them, you can click on the link below this video or just visit this link right here. You're going to download the PDF checklist, the password CSV file, and the notes document. Just drop those files into the temporary folder on your desktop, and we're ready to go. I'm going to make sure that you're successful here no matter what device you're using or when you're watching this video. So I'm actually going to hand this next step off to the Proton.me website. Proton has a really easy onboarding process, and they're actually going to do most of the work for you in real time. I've still listed this process on your checklist in case you're still using that. And I'm also going to quickly show you the steps as they exist today in order to give you a few quick pointers before you actually dive into this. But please don't try to activate your account as I'm doing this because there might be some very minor details that have changed between when I'm filming this and when you decide to actually get it done. I just want to make sure that none of that confuses you or affects you in any way whatsoever. When it's your turn, you're going to start by opening an internet browser on your main computer and going to the website proton.me. You're going to click on the button for Proton Pass Password Manager. You're then going to select the free version because it's seamless to upgrade this, to add products later on, or to bring your family members on board. It's also easy, by the way, to export everything that we're doing to a different app if you decide that you want to later on. So the free version of Proton Pass is really good for what we're doing today. After you select that free version of Proton Pass, scroll down to create your free account. You're going to enter the primary email address that you usually use and choose a good password. But then wait, don't do anything else yet. Don't even click on the account creation button. Before you create your account, type or paste the email address and password that you just used into the notes document of the folder that we put on your desktop. Immediately save that document so you know for sure that the info is there. Then you can go back to proton.me and click the button to create your account. As I film this today, clicking that account creation button will trigger a verification process. Proton will immediately ask you to provide a verification code that they just sent over to your email box. So you're going to leave that Proton window open while you go to your email, retrieve the code, and then enter that code into the verification box on the Proton website. Please take this slow, because that code is going to trigger another important function. Proton is going to instantly create your account recovery kit. This is basically a one-time recovery key that you can later use to regain access to your account if you forget your password, have your phone stolen, or you get hacked. So what you will probably be looking at is a link to download this recovery kit as a PDF. If you see that, download that recovery kit, save the PDF to the folder that's on your desktop, okay? If there's not a link to download that file, you're just gonna copy the password phrase that is being displayed in front of you, like a series of words together with hyphens, and you're gonna paste that into your notes file right next to your Proton account email and password. Keep all this stuff in the same place. Save that document again so you know that the data is there. You can now continue on the Proton website knowing that if anything goes wrong, if you get interrupted in this process, if you need to install Proton on another device a week from now, or if you ever forget your password, you now have all that you need to get going again. That's a really good feeling, isn't it? You're welcome. If you have all these things saved someplace safe, you will never be locked out of your Proton account, even if your phone is stolen or you get hacked. You'll have options because Proton is really good with this stuff. If you've never been through it, trying to get back into your Apple or Google account after you've been hacked, it's nearly impossible. It's a days-long process, and literally, guys, most people give up and just try to start over again. That's how bad it is. So after you save your recovery kit, you can now continue on the Proton website. It's going to immediately pull you through the process of activating a browser extension on your computer, installing the app on all of your other devices, and then importing all of your old passwords into Proton Pass. Now, you're going to want to do each of these things, but listen, guys, it doesn't matter at all what order you do them in. So just go with the flow that Proton presents, and you can always just click a button and take care of one of the other tasks at another time. Just get these three things done. That entire process should not take longer than maybe 5 minutes. My only reminder here is that if you are not using your own computer, the one that you use on a daily basis, don't install the browser extension and don't let the browser on that computer automatically store your Proton password. Other than that, you can basically just click wherever Proton tells you to click. The only problem that I've ever encountered from here on is when some people try to import their old passwords. A lot of you kind of have passwords scattered around in different places. Some are in your phone, on your computer, on your internet browser, a few are up here, right? And we want to make sure that you can get all those together and import them smoothly. And so that's what we do next. I want you to use your checklist to make a list of every place that you've kept any of your current passwords. Again, that includes any of those passwords that you may be storing up here, okay? We've got to get them out of there. If you can store a password in your head, it is no bueno. I can probably brute force that password in a matter of minutes, which means it sucks. It's not protecting you. We need to bring all of your passwords over to this safe encrypted vault. For some of you, that might be a bit of a process, and sometimes that process does get interrupted. If it does, no big deal. If you ever have trouble or get stuck or lost, you're just going to go back into your Proton Pass account, click the settings button, then click the import option, and Proton will just walk you through this process all over again. Okay, to address a couple possible problems. If you either don't speak English or if you happen to be over the age of 30, you may be finding yourself a little confused right now. So if you literally don't know where you're currently storing your passwords, then basically you need Jesus. Just kidding. I want you to start with your internet browsers first, and you're going to export those password databases because they're storing something, all right? Then you're going to move on to iCloud Keychain for Apple products and Google Password Manager for Droid products. If you hit your internet browsers first, the ones you access the internet with, and then those built-in password managers, we're going to grab most of what we need, and that's where most people keep their stuff. If you're truly lost, what you can do is open up the internet and try to log into any account that you frequently access online in that typical fashion, okay? And when you try to log in, you're going to look at the username and password fields on the login form, and you're going to see some type of an icon there, like right before it autofills that blank with your credentials. That icon typically corresponds with your primary password app, okay? That's a clue for us, and that should give you an idea where you're storing your passwords. Now, guys, coming straight out of the category of things you wish I told you 30 seconds ago, I need to tell you that some password managers won't actually let you export your data, or maybe they limit the data that you can actually export from them. I think it's evil, and this is one reason that we have to get you away from those big guys, those big tech players. They literally hold your security hostage. If you have an iPhone, for example, you literally can't export your passwords from your iPhone. But I do have a hack for you, and it works perfectly today. Hopefully it still works when you're watching this. I'm going to walk you through it. iPhone users, if you also have a Mac computer or maybe access to a Mac computer, I got you, all right? If you don't have a Mac computer, you're literally going to have to enter all of your passwords one by one by hand. Don't be mad at me. Talk to Apple. They did this. If you are one of the lucky ones, though, it's actually pretty easy. What you're going to do is open your phone and go to the Settings app and then the iCloud settings. So click on that iCloud ID in the top of the settings page. And then what you're going to do is click on apps using iCloud. Right beneath that, I want you to make sure that it says passwords and keychain turned on. So that's going to be syncing with the iCloud. Now what we can do is go over to that Mac computer. It has to be a computer. It can't be a tablet or anything else, all right? Once you have that computer open, you can click on the Apple icon in the upper left corner, and you're going to make sure that your iCloud account is signed into that computer, all right? Just temporarily at least. Now, your iCloud account needs to be the same on the computer as it is on your phone. Once that's done, you can go and click on System Settings on the computer, click on Passwords on that computer, and then we have to click this secret little inconspicuous button right here. You're going to click that button, and we've got an Easter egg for you. It says Export All Passwords. And it works. That's going to automatically produce the CSV file that you and I need. So you're going to save that file to the folder on your desktop, and then you're done. Do that now, because Apple will probably take that away from us soon. Also, remember, you always have the option of just typing passwords into Proton Pass by hitting the plus button and then selecting Login for your entry. Or you can paste passwords into the sample import password CSV file that we downloaded onto your desktop. You can then import that CSV file using the generic CSV option that you see here. If you ever import a duplicate password for some reason, Proton is going to let you know and ask you what to do with it. All right, so go ahead. This is the time to go to the Proton website, create your free account, install the Proton Pass app on each of your devices, and activate the browser extension on each internet browser that you use. Make sure that you save your credentials and your recovery kit, and make sure that you can log in on each of the devices that you use. Then come back here so we can finalize the process. The hard part is over, guys. Now you can use this password manager for all new accounts, so the future is really bright. Many people like to have a hard copy of all of their passwords available offline. I'm one of those people. That's my doomsday file. It's a backup that I have in case I get locked out of my password manager for any reason whatsoever. Some people will take that file and they'll store it as an unencrypted hard copy that they save or even print out and then store in a theft and fireproof location. Others are going to download that file onto an encrypted, maybe an SD card or a thumb drive, and then you can safely carry that encrypted copy with you wherever you go, knowing that even if you lose it, no one else can read it. Either way, it's nice to have one of these options in case you ever get locked out or lose access to your devices in a disaster or something. If you want a doomsday file like that, just get all of your passwords over into Proton Pass, then go to your Proton Pass account, click on Settings, and then Export. That will give you all the options that I just mentioned, from printing it to saving it to encrypting it, all right? And now you're gonna have an offline backup file of all of your passwords. For now, why don't you save that file in that folder on your desktop, and just for fun, make sure that you can actually open that file and get into it. Some of you are going to begin to realize that you literally have hundreds of existing password accounts. Some of them might go back a decade or more. Guys, I need you to realize something. Every single one of those accounts is a potentially serious threat to your privacy and online security. Guys, they will all be hacked, leaked, scraped, or breached at some point. All of them will. And when they are, that username and password and any other identifying information that was in that file are probably going to become public or quasi-public on the dark web. And the info in that account, including the name, password, date of birth, and other stuff, it's going to be used against you. So there are some things that we need to do to protect you from that. You already know that there are a lot of bad people out there, right? And there's also these little jerk internet bots that are running right now. And what these things do is they just scrape the leaked or breached or hacked data that's already available, and they just run constantly. They churn through that information and they try to plug your email and password into your Instagram, your DoorDash, or your banking app, and they try to crack their way in. Constantly they're doing this, right? Today, artificial intelligence is making these like automated hacking tools extraordinarily powerful. And once they crack their way in, they set a little alarm off at their boss so he knows that they've got a potential victim, and your day gets a lot worse. So this is why each of those old accounts actually needs to have a different email address and a secure password if we can, because it's going to stop this kind of an attack in its tracks. At least today, it will protect us. I want you to imagine that you've just got one email address and you're sharing that same email with multiple accounts across the internet. All a hacker has to do is get access to that info, and their work gets really easy from there. Like, even if all they do is get access to one half of that equation, like just your email, their evil work is already 50% done. And it amazes me today how many people kind of live their life with basically one email address. And so somebody trying to break into your accounts, they basically know 50% of what they need to get into your accounts, right? That's a terrible scenario. And so what we need to do is try to protect you from that. Proxy emails do several things for us. And in this video, I'm only going to talk about their security here. A proxy email is essentially an email address that does nothing but serve as a unique username for your login. So that's what the company knows you by. That's the data that they have on you. So when that data gets exposed or exploited, it limits the damage to that single source. You're not using that data anywhere else. And so no hacker can take that email and that password and just plug it in, credential stuff, into your other accounts. If you're not familiar with this, listen, take your time with it, but please know that any messages that get sent to your proxy email, they're all automatically forwarded anonymously to your primary email account. So proxy email doesn't mean that you now have to check 500 new email accounts for all your messages, a different email account for a different company. They all go to the same place they always did. It's just that those messages, they're filtered through this proxy account, all right? So again, in the end, if that email account gets leaked or breached or scraped or hacked, all right, the damage is kind of contained and it can't come back to hurt you in another account down the road. That's a really good thing. We call it a silo, and that's what's going to protect you, hopefully, from a future credential stuffing attack. Anyway, I digress. So we've got our old passwords imported into Proton Pass. Do you realize how cool that is? Guys, we have already done a fantastic job. You are so much better off already. Now, to make sure that the mistakes of the past don't come back to hurt you tomorrow, and they will, you're going to go and clean things up a bit. I want you to take your time with this, however long you need. What we're going to do is go through each of your old password entries, even the ancient ones that you don't use anymore. Remember, they're old to you, and you might be tempted to think that they're less significant because they're just outdated, but they're actually more likely to be used against you. They're more likely to be exploited or exposed. And so we need to attend to those as well. They're actually important to us. We got to clean them up. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through each of those accounts. You're going to just start Proton Pass, start at the top, do it alphabetically, do it 20 entries a day, track your progress, stay consistent, whatever. Just get it done, all right? Take a month if you have to. What you want to do is update any password that you've used more than once any password that is, I don't know, more than a year old, and any password that Proton Pass labels as being weak, all right? Let's knock out those three things. You can see those weak passwords, by the way, by just looking for this little yellow warning tag that's next to the password entry in Proton Pass. You've probably got some old accounts in there that you are never going to use again, right? Well, you're done with them, but the dark web isn't. And that company is probably not going to be guarding those old accounts as well as they probably should. So definitely update your most important and most frequently used passwords first. But we do also need to update those dormant account passwords to something that's unique and secure, because there's still data in there that can hurt us. So after we update them, we absolutely can close the door on them forever and kind of sleep easy. But we have to update them first, because that's actually better than simply closing them off. If you don't do that, their database is just going to mark your account as inactive or expired, but it's still going to maintain your data in the database and make it available for exploit later on. Now remember, Mr. 30-something, to change these older passwords, you are going to have to actually log into that old account on the website that it belongs to. If you're updating the password on Netflix, you actually need to log into Netflix first with that old password, then use Proton Pass to generate a new secure password, paste that new password into Netflix, hit save, that's updated, and then make the final change in Proton Pass and save that. I know that sounds ridiculous to some of you, but I've been here before. And to some of my people from my age cohort, you might need to be reminded that just updating the password in Proton Pass does nothing to update the actual records online. It's a little bit cumbersome, I know, but think about this. You've done a lot of good. And if you get lazy now and just leave an old reused password out there, or one that's easy to hack, you're just going to leave that door open forever. It's an attack vector that someone will eventually use. So please, just take your time and close these things up. I think I'm actually sinking in my chair. Some final steps here. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you're also going to need to go into the settings on those devices and enable autofill. So on that iPad or iPhone, you're going to click on Settings, click on Passwords, then click on Password Options, and you're going to select Proton Pass to both use passwords and set up verification codes, right? That's going to set you up so that it autofills on that device. Now, with Proton Pass, you're just going to use this as much as you can over the next several days. And friends, just like when you used to get your braces adjusted, it kind of hurts at first, right? But in a matter of days, you're not even going to notice this. I promise. Just get there. Stick to it. In the meantime, if you ever decide that Proton Pass isn't the password manager for you, you've still done something really important here, and you never have to do it again. And you can now effortlessly transfer all of the hard work that you've just done from Proton Pass into whatever password manager that you ever decide to use. It's just a win. So if you're using the free version of Proton Pass, I would actually now go back to your 10 most valuable online accounts, the places where you might stand to lose the most. And I want you to see if you're using an email address as your login username for that account. That's not always the case. If you are, I think I would take this opportunity to change that email address that's being used as your username to one of your new proxy email addresses. So if you open the password file in Proton Pass that corresponds to that particular account, you're going to see this little icon next to your username, and you can click on this icon. It's going to allow you to select a proxy email for that account, and then you're going to populate that and then just go back to the website for that account and change your login email to your new proxy email. As we finish things up here, I want you to remember that you do still have a folder on your desktop with unencrypted password CSV files in it, all right? That makes me uncomfortable just saying it out loud. It's also got your recovery key for Proton Pass in there, and you can't leave that stuff on your computer. So some people are going to print that out on paper and maybe save it with their emergency files in a secure safe or a deposit box. If you're an adult, you might want to keep it with your will or your other precious documents. Other people are going to save it to an encrypted thumb drive or an SD card, which I highly recommend, and then they're going to hide that someplace safe. Whatever you do with it, in the unlikely event that your Proton Pass gets hacked or your phone gets stolen or there's some type of a natural disaster, you're going to want to have a hard copy of your account information and your logins, right? Just so you have emergency access to it if the worst happens. And, I actually recommend downloading a CSV of your Proton Pass account at least once a year and just updating the emergency file that you have there. You're either going to store that again on an encrypted drive or someplace where it's physically secure from both theft and fire. You decide what the best thing to do with it is, where the best place to keep that is. Just promise me here and now that you will not leave those unencrypted CSV files on your computer. Good? Yeah. All right, so we're gonna take care of those unencrypted password files that we just dumped onto our desktop. You're gonna do something good with them, right? We also need to now go back at some point and delete the passwords that still exist in your old password managers. We don't want to just leave that stuff sitting there in your various different browsers and password managers, but we also don't want to delete it yet. So what you're going to do is you're going to set an alert in your calendar for anywhere between a month and maybe say 3 months. That's going to give you enough time to practice with Proton Pass, make sure that you're able to get into the accounts that you normally get into. And once you're comfortable with that, you're going to come back and you are going to purge out all of your old databases, all those old passwords from iCloud Keychain, from Google Password Manager, and from any of the browsers on any of your devices. That's really important to do. Less important than securing the unencrypted files, but it's still very important to do. Make sure you set that calendar entry and come back and get that done as well. If you want some quick tips on how to use Proton Pass daily effectively and how to have fun with it, like how to install your browser extensions, use your proxy emails, tweak the settings, send secure encrypted files, generate passwords on the fly, I've got another video on that titled Using Proton Pass Like a Boss. I'll get you there. It's easy and it actually becomes fun. And while I mention that, this is a perfect time for you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I use YouTube very differently than a lot of people do. I put stuff up, I take stuff down. I kind of recycle my content. I don't just have a static library that just stays there forever. So if you don't subscribe to the channel, there's a good chance that you just won't see the content that I put up there. Also, don't get mad, but if you're still watching this video, I'm betting you're either asleep or dead. So I want to mention, once you've cleaned up all of your passwords, we do now need to single out the most important accounts that you store information in, like maybe your email or social media accounts, your banking app, Amazon. If you're still using any Google accounts for anything, we need you to set up 2FA or TOTP secondary verification on each of those accounts. Now, I'll walk you through that process. It's much easier than what we just did. The video to watch is called WTH is 2FA and why you need it. Basically, 2FA is a separate authenticator that's already built into your Proton Pass app. It's going to ensure that those important accounts that you have, they really can't be hacked into. With 2FA, even if someone steals your password, they really can't hack into your accounts unless they're actually using your device with the Proton Pass open and the authenticator functioning in real time. So unless you're like a really high value target, they're just not going to spend the resources to get into your stuff. But that's for another day. We've done enough today and I'm exhausted. But man, are you safer. There is some more cool stuff to know. So once you take a break, I hope I get to see you at one of those next videos, all right? Until then, stay happy, my friends.